Most of Alberta's land area is underlain by groundwater. Rural Albertans depend on groundwater for about 90% of their domestic water supply. And rural Alberta continues to depend more and more on groundwater due to rising livestock numbers and the need for groundwater for oil recovery. Groundwater is a resource that is hidden, making it susceptible to misuse and water quality deterioration. Understanding how groundwater works below the surface will aid in utilizing and safeguarding groundwater in a way that will guarantee sufficient and high-quality supplies for future generations.
Groundwater is one element of Earth's water cycle. This cycle, more specifically referred to as the hydrologic cycle, involves the movement of water as water vapor, rain, snow, surface water, and groundwater. Once water infiltrates the ground, it begins to fill in the spaces between soil and rock as it follows gravity, moving deeper and deeper into the subsurface until all the pore spaces are filled. This point is referred to as the water table, and it separates the saturated zone below it from the unsaturated zone above it. Below the water table, soil and rock strata are divided into two categories: aquifers and aquicludes. Aquifers are geologic layers or formations that contain water and provide wells with sufficient water supplies. Sand, gravel, and sandstone are the typical materials for aquifers, and water can easily pass between the large and well-connected pore spaces of these materials. Although they are more closely packed, coal and shale may also make good aquifer materials, provided they are sufficiently fractured to allow water to pass through them. Aquicludes are also water-bearing layers, but are incapable of producing enough water for wells. Clay and unfractured shale are a couple of examples. These materials have pore spaces that are so tiny, water can only pass through them at extremely slow rates.
Along with their flow efficiency, groundwater aquifers are also categorized by their surface connectivity.
An unconfined aquifer is exposed to the atmosphere directly through pore openings in the soil, and the water volume is primarily influenced by seasonal cycles and precipitation. Below a confining layer of rock, clay, or shale lies a confined aquifer that is isolated from the atmosphere. The water level of a well dug into a confined aquifer rises above the aquifer's upper boundary. Although it normally moves extremely slowly, groundwater is constantly in motion, moving from areas of higher elevation to lower elevation due to the force of gravity. The risk of polluting groundwater sources makes understanding the direction of groundwater migration more crucial. When pollutants from the surface penetrate the ground at higher altitudes or upslope from a well, they are particularly dangerous to shallow water table aquifers. These contaminants include sewage, manure, herbicides, and petroleum products, where danger is minimized by proper well placement and isolation from possible pollutants. Rainfall that penetrates the soil and rock layers and enters these water-bearing formations can immediately replenish or refill aquifers. Infiltration from surface water sources, including lakes, rivers, creeks, and sloughs, can also refresh them. Groundwater can leak into sources of surface water, which may have an impact on water quality if that groundwater is contaminated.
The growth of groundwater or surface water will have an impact on the amount and quality of the other. Hence, it is important to carefully analyze this connection between both resources. Now, what is sustainability? Sustainability refers to meeting the needs of today in a socially, economically, and environmentally friendly way without compromising the needs of tomorrow. When the term sustainability is thrown around, people generally think of environmentalism, but that is only one aspect of sustainability. Most conceptions of sustainability include considerations for social equality and economic growth as well. Although the concept of sustainability is a relatively new notion, the movement as a whole has origins in social justice, conservationism, internationalism, and other previous movements with long histories. Many of these concepts had come together by the end of the 20th century with the push for sustainable development, and work through the Brundtland Commission ensured that environmentalism will be effectively integrated with social and economic issues in the global development agenda.
A sustainable future world would be a place where Earth's natural systems are kept in check and ecological integrity is preserved, while natural resources are utilized by people at a rate that allows them to renew themselves.
All across the world, human communities would be able to remain autonomous and have access to the material and human resources they need to satisfy their requirements. Economic systems would be functioning properly, and everyone would have access to opportunities providing stable sources of income.
Everyone would have access to the universal human rights and requirements necessary to maintain the safety and well-being of their families and communities.
Just leaders would guarantee that personal, labor, and cultural rights are honored, and that everyone is safeguarded from discrimination in healthy communities.
Many people and organizations share the concept of sustainability, and they show this value via their policies, routine actions, and behaviors.
Individuals have significantly contributed to the development of our contemporary social and environmental conditions, and future generations, as well as today's population, must develop answers and adapt to ensure that this ultimate goal of sustainability is reached.
Upstream and downstream of Edmonton, there are noticeable differences in the water quality of the North Saskatchewan River. Increases in chromium, cobalt, nickel, and zinc are observed from industrial discharges, as several companies have licenses to release effluents into the river basin. Increases in nutrients, algae, and fecal coliform bacteria are also observed downstream of Edmonton and are primarily the result of treated wastewater discharge. I'm here at the Gold Bar wastewater treatment plant, which is responsible for the largest point source input of contaminants into the North Saskatchewan River. Before the institution of biological nutrient removal technology in municipal wastewater treatment, nutrients, especially phosphorus, were being released into the river, resulting in algal blooms and eutrophication downstream. Despite advancements to the Gold Bar wastewater treatment plant, there's still a continued call for water quality improvements in the North Saskatchewan River and City of Edmonton as a whole. For the most part, the concentration of contaminants are within provincial healthcare guidelines. However, when non-compliance values are recorded, discharges restrict the use of river water for recreation up to 100 kilometers downstream. Along with point sources of contamination, Edmonton's groundwater system is also affected by less obvious non-point sources. Atmospheric deposition of trace metals from hydrocarbon production and other industrial processes leach into the subsurface and are transported throughout the hydrogeological system, along with pesticides and fertilizers from agricultural land. In addition to contamination, excessive withdrawal is another risk to groundwater systems. Groundwater is both the largest and slowly replenished source of liquid fresh water for humans to use, as the average replenishing time is 1,400 years. In many significant food-producing regions, an overuse of water resources has resulted from the rapid rise in demand for groundwater-based irrigation, potentially causing harmful depletion. One of the world's most prosperous agricultural regions is California's Central Valley. To satisfy their need for irrigation, agriculture in this region mainly relies on surface water diversions and groundwater pumping. Groundwater pumping over past decades has caused massive and extensive drawdowns, resulting in the compaction of aquifer systems and land subsidence. Groundwater levels are dropping and are approaching or exceeding historically low levels, which has led to increased and accelerated sinking that is probably permanent. Similar to California, in Alberta, much of our agriculture is irrigated from groundwater aquifers. And if water was withdrawn at a rate higher than the rate of recharge, a similar outcome might arise. In order to minimize negative effects caused by subsidence while still maximizing water availability, management strategies may be evaluated using modeling tools. This information is essential in the effective application of current legislation intended to promote sustainable groundwater usage. Our planet thrives with life. from the tops of mountains to the bottom of vast oceans. The planet provides conditions necessary to sustain life, including an oxygen-rich atmosphere and hydrologic services, which we tend to take for granted. These benefits are referred to as ecosystem services. The intensifying human impact on ecosystems around the world have called for the need to go beyond a basic understanding of human dependency on the environment and build more sustainable relationships. Ecosystems have a significant impact on the amount of water that is eventually made accessible to consumers downstream through use, transportation, and redistribution of water by trapping precipitation or evaporating water via transpiration processes. In general, ecosystems with healthy root structures and ground cover are very effective at improving water quality. Vegetation, microbes, and soils remove pollutants from overland flow and groundwater through several methods. This includes physically trapping water and sediment, adhering to contaminants, slowing down water flow, biochemically transforming nutrients and contaminants, and diluting contaminated water. Economically speaking, policymakers may not be that inclined to invest large sums of money into the preservation of natural resources. However, calculating the value of ecosystem services in terms of service production can put into perspective the monetary worth of these services.
For example, the services of a forested watershed in Hawaii were valued between $1.5 and $2.5 billion per year, and it was estimated that the ecosystem services around the world are valued at around $50 trillion per year. Therefore, it is more cost efficient to help protect groundwater resources than it is to develop engineering solutions to remediate them. Even though groundwater resources have been severely degraded over past decades from pollution and misuse, that doesn't mean these resources are doomed. Many researchers and institutions are making progress in developing new and revolutionary methods of removing contamination from groundwater environments. And some of those advancements are occurring right under our very noses, here at the University of Alberta. Activated carbon is frequently utilized in water treatment facilities to remove heavy metal contaminants from water due to its large surface area and microporous structure. In the environmental geochemistry lab, I myself am researching the applicability of using biochar, a form of activated carbon, to remediate dissolved selenium, a common contaminant from mining activities. The use of magnetite nanoparticle biochar composites has been shown to be an effective and reusable adsorbent that can transform hexavalent chromium, a contaminant in groundwater, to chromium-3, a non-toxic variant that is considered an essential nutrient in humans. Microplastics are an emerging contaminant of concern, as they are microscopically small and undergo bioaccumulation, building in organisms, increasing from one trophic level to the next. These microplastics can be removed from water systems through membrane filtration and a process called electrocoagulation, whereby an electric current is run through the water, causing microplastic particles to clump together, facilitating easier removal and filtering. Novel and innovative research has shown potential in nano-sized metal oxides to remove contaminants via adsorption and redox reactions. Together, these passive remediation technologies demonstrate a high potential for the effective treatment of contaminated groundwater.
Ultimately, the fate of groundwater health is in the hands of not only industry and governmental bodies, but also the general public. We all play a role in ensuring the sustainable use and reuse of water resources. There are several simple ways we can all help protect and conserve groundwater supplies. Use native plants in landscaping. They are already suited for the environment in your area and minimize the need for heavy watering or chemical treatments such as fertilizer. Dispose of potentially harmful products, including unused chemicals, medications, paint, motor oil, and other materials properly. You can discover hazardous waste collections or sites near you by contacting your local health authority. When shaving or brushing your teeth, turn off the water, and don't leave it running while you wait for it to cool. Instead, keep a pitcher of water in the refrigerator. You can challenge your family to take 5-minute showers and only run full loads in the dishwasher and washing machine. Only water grass and plants during the cooler times of the day and when they are actually in need. During dry spells, make sure you, your family, and your neighbors abide by any watering restrictions. When feasible, utilize home cleaning products that are 100% natural and non-toxic. Lemon juice, baking soda, and vinegar all work well as cleaning agents, are reasonably priced, and respect the environment. Together, we can build a society where everyone has access to clean and sufficient water supplies. With developing technologies and progressing policies, a sustainable future world is within our grasp. We must act now in order to protect and preserve our natural world for future generations. Because after all, you never know the worth of water until the well is dry.